This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning everyone. We continue Mishna Berura Yomi. We're up to Siman Taf Nun Aleph, Sif, Chaf, Sif Katan, Kuf, Lamed, Vav. Siman Taf Nun Aleph, Sif Katan, Kuf, Lamed, Vav. Says the Mishna Berura, Lasum Shum Davar Ala Tanur, to put anything on the oven. Hainu Kishacham or Cham. The Rama said, a winter oven is like an earthenware kli, and you're not to put anything on the oven on Pesach. Says the Mishna Berura, Siman Kuf Lamed Vav, Siman Taf Nun Aleph, Siman Sif Katan Kuf Lamed Vav. Lasum Shum Davar Ala Tanur, Hainu Kishat Tanur Cham. That is when the oven is hot. Asur Afim Hamatzah Tzoinin. It's asur even if the matzah is cold. V'chein lehepach kishamatza chama. Likewise, if the matzah is hot and the oven is cold, you can't. Afim atanur tzoinin. V'shneim tzoinin, if they're both cold, b'derech keva asur. On a steady basis, it's asur. V'derech harai, occasionally, ein eser im kibed v'nika gabe hatanur shleinim tzasham chametz ba'ayin. If it's temporary, there's no isser if you sweep out and you clean the back of the oven so that you don't find any chametz ba'en. V'chamayish mavayer le'el b'soif sif aleph. U'inyan diyaved. If you put matzah on the oven when the oven was hot, we're talking about the ovens of the winter house. So we say like this: if you put matzah when the oven was hot, either the matzah was hot or both hot, it will answer the bottom of the matzah a shell's worth. All of this is if you place the matzah without any interruption underneath it. But if you put a pot with a cooked dish, even if they're both hot, it does not answer because the isser that's absorbed does not go from the wall of the oven to the wall of the pot. Even pots you're not to put there under all circumstances, unless they're both cold. If you put something that separates, like iron or the like, underneath it, or you smeared it with cement the width of a finger, you could use everything above. All of these dinim are shaykh even by what is called kachlin, that is made on the side of an oven. There, it's not going to help if you have an interruption of iron, or you smear it with cement alone. Only if you smear it with cement also from the sides, and also above. Smearing it above, will not is not a problem with the Evid. When you put a cover on the pots that you put there, mutter then it's mutter even lecharchila if there's no cement above. Now we're going to explain the interior of the oven. If you were not machshir at first, if you put matzah in it, dinai ka'ala tanor. It has the same din as on the oven v'chanal. Regarding baking matzah there, dinai k'mosh nezbar b'siman taf samachalaf ayin sham. U'le'inyan bishul b'soichai. Regarding cooking in it, after l'charchila tzarch l'achshir gam lazeh, even though l'charchila you need to kasher for this, k'may la'afiyah, just like you do for baking, or you smear with cement the width of the finger, the floor of the oven. We're not going to answer the cooked dish, even if you are not machshir it. Okay, we start a new topic, Sif Chav Gimel. Kli cheres hametzupin behitach zechuches. Earthenware that is glazed with melted glass. Dinam kechli cheres. It's still treated like kli cheres. Haga v'yesh mekarim shenagu shalosh tamish b'kli cheres galizart afil chadashim. There are places that the minhag is not to use earthenware that's glazed, even if it's brand new. Ve'in lahachmer rak b'makam haminhag. there's no reason to be machmer unless it's a place that they have that minhag. It says in Mishna Berura hamitzupim, mikol sad from all sides. V'yafta kasav ha-mechaber b'siv chavav, even though the mechaber writes in siv chavav, the chli zechuchas eino b'ilei klal, that glass does not absorb at all. Hach over here, kiven de mechupa ala cheres, since it's coated with, in other words, even though the mechaber says that we're going to see that glass does not absorb, hacha kiven the mechupa ala cheres, since it's coated on the earthenware, v'nitzraf ima b'kivshan, and it's smolded with it in the oven, in the furnace, balatve, then it absorbs more. V'hitach zechuches, v'haskamas achreinim lahachmir, af behitach oiferes oibedil. The consensus of the achreinim is to be machmer, even if you melted lead, oibedil, Doloi mahani hagala, where hagala doesn't help, because when you use it for chametz and hot, nivla hachametz b'chal avei hakli, the chametz gets absorbed in the whole thickness of the kli, v'nivla gam b'cheres shetachas oiferes, and it also is absorbed even in the earthenware under the lead, v'sheveinu niflam olayim, and then it will never be expelled. So, earthenware that's glazed with glass is treated like earthenware. And then if it's used for hot, hagala doesn't work. And there's no difference whether the kli was from green earth, or lavana, or white earth, or shchayr, or black earth, even if it's smooth without any cracks, it still absorbs through heat. But the earthenware that's usually used for cold, then it depends. If the kli was made from green earth, there's no way to fix it. The darkel of laya, green earth absorbs a lot. But if it was used with white or black earth, it would become mutter. If you do hagala, again, this is if it's tashmisha b'tzoynein, if it's used for cold. V'chanal b'siv chaf aleph, like we said earlier, siv chaf aleph, afilu miyesh b'abakam, even if there are cracks. V'mein b'abakam, if there are no cracks, ein sarach hagala. You don't even have to kasher it. V'shuchshach ba'al masagi, it helps merely to rub it. Uchvachamavar b'yoradeas, m'kuf lamed hey, le'inyan yayin nesach, says the Maimer Mordechai. Sivkatan kuf mem afilu hein chadashim, even if they're new, shlei nishtamish behem chametz ma'elam, they were never used for chametz. Lefisha miktzas ha'umanin. In other words, there's a minhag not to use earthenware, even if it's new, if it's glazed with glass. Even shlei nishtamish chametz was never used for chametz. Lefisha miktzas ha'umanim oisin pu'ulas hatzipa idei subin. Some craftsmen, they use the coating they use bran. So now there's chametz absorbed in the glaze. Even if the glaze is very little on the outside, it's also not kadai, says the Pri Megadim. Keilim, those Keilim, those Keilim that it drips on them sometimes, drips from melting from other Keilim, ein lahakbid. Then you don't have to be makbid. Rak b'makom haminag, only in a place where there's a minag. Meaning, the Ramah is saying one is not required to be makbid about using earthenware that's glazed with glass, even if it's new, unless there's a specific minag in that place not to do so. It says Mishna Berura rak b'makom haminag, ba'afilu ba'oisen mekaymos, even in those places where they do have the minag, im yadua shekli cheres zeloi erev ha'uman suben b'tzipuyai, if you know that this earthenware kli, the craftsman did not mix bran into it, yesh lahakel, you could be lenient. Meaning, even in a place where they have a minhag not to use it, you could be lenient. The custom is in some places sheyehudi oimed al gaban b'shas malacha, that a Jew will oversee the creation of this kli, liroy shlei yisaken atzipa yidei subin, to see to it that it's not made through using bran. Sivkata sif chavdaled. Kli eitz, wooden kelim hamitzupim b'samanim shekarin barnis, wooden kelim that are coated with spices that are called barnis, dinam kechli cheras. They're treated like earthenware. It says Ramah Hagav yesh mekaymesh mechmirim shalishhtamish bekelim tzvuim. There are some places that on Pesach they have a chumrah not to use colored Keilim, afilu hein chadashim, even if they're new. V'chein hamechupim bebdil, or if it's coated with lead. Ve'ein lahachmer mazeh, rak b'makom shenagu iser. Says Rama, one is not required to be machmir, only in a situation where there is such a custom to be machmir. Says Mishna Berura, dinam kechli cheres. Again, this is a wooden kli that's glazed with spices called barnis, so it's treated like earthenware. It says Mishna Berura, dinam kechli cheres she'in hagala ma'el sahem. Hagala does not help. If it was used for had chametz, shehasamonim ma'akvin almei hagala shlo yaflitu mashbulu b'techa ha'etz. The reason is that the spices ward off the effects of hagala. They make it that the hagala cannot expel what's absorbed in the wood. Tzvuim, becharkoim, bechadoima. Charkoim, I believe, is saffron. Chadashim. Why? What could be problematic? Why in some places are they machmer not to use colored Keilim, even if they're new? It says the Mishna Berura, because we're afraid either it was a brand was used in the production, or if it was they used old Keilim and they sort of colored it and now it looks new. Even if they're new, again because of this chash, that maybe you used bran. V'gam kein mitamanal. Shapa'amim atzipa yadei subin oishachipa kelim yishanim. Because sometimes the coat is with bran, or you coated new kelim. V'ayin le'el b'sif yud gimel v'ma shekosavnu sham. Look in Sif Yud Gimel and what we wrote over there. Sif Chav Hei Kol Kli Hashsiya, all drinking kelim. Bein Sloichiais, Bein Kaisais, whether goblets or cups, Mutar B'Shtifa, you could rinse out. Bein Shehim Shel Zechuchas, whether they're glass, Bein Shehim Shel Eitz, or they're wood. Bein Shehim Shel Matachas, or they're metal. Bein Shehim Shel Cheres, or they're earthenware. V'afal pi shel fam noisim hem lechem cham, even though sometimes you put hot bread in it. Kivan sharoiv tashmishan eina ela b'tzaynein, since the majority of the use is with cold, sagi b'shtifa, you could just rinse it out. Shalai holchu b'chol kli ela acharoiv tashmishay. By most kelim, you only follow the majority usage. This is the mechaber l'shitase that he said earlier. However, there are those who are machmir and they require hagala. And that's the minhag to kasher cups as well. Says Mishna Berura b'shtifa, ayin lev b'Mishna Berura sivkatan mem tes shal zechuchis nakat zeh. It picked this afilu das hamachmir b'zechuchis k'nishim shtanish b'em b'chamin oy b'machnisa l'kiyam. This is even according to those who are machmir by glass when you used it for hot, or when you put it in to preserve it, like the Rama is going to say later, here where it's only used for cold, according to everyone it does not absorb, and it's enough to rinse it out. And then you're allowed to use it even for hot, since it was originally used only for cold. Kivan sharoiv tashmishan, since the majority of its usage, ayin le'el b'Mishna Berura sivkatan mem vav, mihu yesh machmirin, hainu l'chadchila. There are those who are l'chadchila b'diavad sagi lu b'shtifa. B'diavad it's enough to rinse it out. Says Rama earlier in Sevav matzrichim hagala v'adin al yidei miloi ve'eroi. Likewise, by filling it up and pouring it out, ukidol el b'sif chaf aleph. Okay, we'll hold it over here. As Hashem, pick it up next time.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.